I've been with Jason for 7 years. Lisa came back. When the earthquake hit, the light fell, and he saved her without hesitation. I got hit and lost my memory. When I woke up, I asked who he was. He said he was my brother. I fell for his friend and told him, "Since you're my brother, you gotta help me win over Jack." He thought I was just playing hard to get and agreed. Until I was about to marry someone. He stormed into the wedding like a mad dog. I said, "Brother, are you here to attend my wedding?" He was filled with sadness and pain, closing his eyes in agony. "Don't call me brother. I'm not your brother. Nancy, you're mine. You can't marry someone else." Jason broke his promise to accompany me to the award ceremony. I was disappointed at first, but then he called, telling me to go to the gin bar for a party. I thought it was a celebration for me since I won the Best Actress award after so many years of waiting. When I arrived, I realized the party had nothing to do with me. It was a welcome back party for Lisa. She greeted me first, hugging me. "Nancy, long time no see." I nodded politely, pushed her away, and looked at him sitting on the couch. "So why did you break your promise today?" He paused while smoking, then put out the cigarette, casually saying, "Lisa hasn't come back in 7 years. I just went to pick her up. Aren't there award ceremonies every year?" So, he broke his promise to pick up Lisa. What spread through my chest was frustration, bitterness, and sadness. Sure, there are award ceremonies every year, but I waited 7 years to win this trophy. I wanted to share my joy with him first. But when I won the trophy, and couldn't find him among the boisterous crowd, I was so disappointed. He didn't care at all. Am I always less important than Lisa in his heart, even though I've been with him for these 7 years? Lisa raised her glass to toast me. "On behalf of Jason, I apologize. It's all because of me that he broke his promise. I'll down this drink as an apology." I clearly saw the pride, smugness, and victory in her eyes. I didn't take the drink, snorting, "He's my boyfriend. What right do you have to apologize for him?" Lisa's hand holding the glass was a bit uneasy. He stepped in for her. "Lisa, don't mind her." "Nancy, enough is enough. What's the big deal? Why are you throwing a tantrum?" I turned and was about to leave. Lisa said aggrievedly, "Nancy's angry. You better go after her. I can handle a bit of grievance. Don't let it come between you two." His friend couldn't stand it anymore. "Talk to her nicely. When hasn't she accommodated you? This time it's really your fault." Jason put out his cigarette, but with disdain. "If you dare, then never appear before me again. I don't even know who's always like a dog, persistently sticking around." I quickened my steps to leave. He was right. Almost always, it was me who compromised. He'd say a few nice words, and I would soften. But this time, I'm done. Since that day, Jason and I entered a cold war, and I filled my life with work. But I still couldn't escape hearing about him and Lisa. That night, he spent a fortune to put up advertisements on tall buildings across the city, reading "Lisa, welcome back." He got Lisa a role in the famous director Bob's movie, Dream, a role that I had a high chance of getting. We were close to signing the contract when the other party called, saying they found a more suitable candidate. Turns out Lisa was the more suitable candidate. She didn't study acting. She studied piano. I have no idea why she returned to become an actress. I have been struggling in the industry for 8 years to have the qualification for that role, and with just one word from him, she took it. I thought that by reaching my current position, I wouldn't face role snatching like I did in the first 2 years. But the blow came from my boyfriend of 7 years. It hurt so much I could barely breathe. My chest really hurt. He should know that these years, acting was my passion aside from him. I put in so much effort, but he didn't care. Or maybe, because it was Lisa, he had no qualms about hurting me. My manager saw the news and came to ask me, "What's going on? Isn't Jason your boyfriend? Why would he snatch a role from you for someone else? Did you two have a fight?" I stared at the moving message outside the building, "Lisa, welcome back." It hurt my eyes, making them sting and ache. She came back, and he was so happy he wanted the whole world to know. I took out my phone and messaged him first. "We might as well break up, right?" I felt so tired these years. Before, I never thought I'd be the one to say those 2 words first. After 7 years, my heart still hadn't warmed. It was time to end it. He didn't respond. I laughed bitterly. "Perhaps we've broken up." My manager patted my back to comfort me. "You're just stubborn. When things were good, we told you to get some resources, but you wouldn't. Look at her. Just came back and got a famous director's movie. Forget it. If you're broken up, then so be it. With your looks, finding someone better isn't impossible." There was a party tonight that I had to attend, maybe I could find some suitable people there. Party. When Jason and Lisa showed up, many people looked at me, waiting for drama. After all, my relationship with him was public. Normally, he'd take me to such banquets. Lisa stopped in front of me. Nancy, you look beautiful tonight. Many people are watching. Jason's eyes darkened, scanning the surroundings, then sneered, not as beautiful as you. I didn't want to deal with their show of affection, and walked away from them. The party was attended by prominent figures, including well-known directors and producers. I wanted to exchange contacts with some famous directors in hopes that they'd contact me for future roles. Seeing Bob, I still wanted to try for a role in Dream. I really like this story of reconciliation. Other roles were still undecided. I walked over and chatted for a bit before Jason interrupted. Don't waste your time. Lisa doesn't like having acquaintances in her projects. You have no chance. Doesn't like acquaintances. She's not even in the industry. Is she just targeting me? I grabbed my wine glass and took a big gulp, trying to suppress the anger and the urge to slap him. Not the right place for that. I turned to leave, but Jason grabbed my arm. Wait, when you see Lisa, be nicer. She's upset you ignore her. Holding back the bitterness, I coldly replied, let go. I don't owe her that. He kept pulling on my arm, noticeably annoyed. Lisa soon walked over, sounding a bit critical. I just went to the restroom. Why are you picking on Nancy again? Suddenly, the ground started shaking violently. Someone yelled, earthquake, and guests scrambled in panic. The light above us started to sway. At the moment the light fell, the hand gripping my wrist let go. Jason didn't hesitate a bit before he grabbed Lisa to safety. The chandelier crashed onto my head, blood blurring my vision. In life or death moments, people's true instincts come out. He didn't hesitate, even though he was holding my hand. It really hurt. The physical pain didn't compare to the stabbing pain in my heart. The intense pain in my head made me pass out. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. I opened my eyes to see a man in a white shirt, brown eyes, and golden hair. He looked very beautiful, like a high-class ragdoll cat, legs crossed, reading a book. He heard me and looked up. His peach blossom eyes met mine, and my heart raced. Hey, handsome, got a number? He smiled, even more charming, making my heart race faster. Nancy, don't mess around. We already have each other's numbers. Nancy, is he calling me? My mind was blank except for this handsome guy in front of me. His face grew worried. He stood up. Don't move. I'll get the doctor. After he left, another handsome guy walked in with water. He was dressed in a suit, with a more stern face, a bit gloomy. His presence made me uncomfortable. How come I have so many good-looking guys around? His right hand was bandaged. He put down the water and glanced at me, saying plainly, you're awake. I looked at Jason in confusion. Who are you? He smirked. It seemed like a mocking smile to me. He said, playing the amnesia card now. Don't think that'll get you back with me. Do we know each other well? I really don't remember anything except my name, Nancy. He leaned closer, studying me. You want to act? I'll act along. He mumbled something I didn't catch. What? Casually, he said, I'm your brother. The handsome guy returned with the doctor. Jason turned to leave. The handsome guy told my brother, Jason, take good care of Nancy. Stop wandering into other people's rooms. Lisa's wound almost healed on its own. Jason responded impatiently, you take care of her. Don't you like hanging around her room anyway? Jason looked back at me before leaving the room. Finally, now I can bond with my handsome guy. As Jason left, I shot him a determined look, but he just frowned and walked out. Finally, I don't know why, but Jason always made me feel stifled and uneasy. Was it some kind of a blood bond thing? The doctor examined me and said I had about 10 stitches on my head, some scratches, but I'd be fine. Once the stitches were out, I could leave the hospital. No internal bleeding, but memory loss. No specific medical treatment for that. They recommended taking me back to familiar places, and maybe my memory would return. Handsome, what's your name? You said we have each other's contacts. Let me check. Jack. My old phone was broken, but sure enough, my new phone showed Jack's contact. Surprisingly, Jason's was pinned at the top. We must be really close as siblings. I quickly changed it to Jack. Jack spent the afternoon with me. Still feeling a bit fuzzy, I wanted to ask him more, but fell asleep. When I woke again, Jack had gone, and Jason was back. Disappointed, I thought I should have stayed awake and worked on getting closer to my dream guy. Jason frowned. What's with the face? Disappointed to see me. Bro, you and Jack are brothers, right? Otherwise, why would he take such good care of me? He looked stunned for a moment. What did you call me? You said you were my brother. If you are, you have to help me get Jack. My happiness depends on you. Jason took out a cigarette, looked irritated, maybe remembering he was in a hospital room. He just sniffed it. Lowering his voice, probably because he couldn't smoke, he sounded annoyed. don't play around. You could get hurt. Jack's not your type. He is. How not? It was love at first sight. I like tall, handsome, warm guys. He's perfect. Jason let out a strange laugh before crushing the cigarette, getting tobacco all over his hand, and tossing it in the trash. Fine, I'll help you. After being discharged, Jason asked Jack to drive me back. He had to take another girl named Lisa to the set. I walked over to Jason. Lisa looked apologetically at me. Nancy, I'm really sorry. Jason has to accompany me to the set. It's my first time acting, and I'm pretty nervous. I nonchalantly replied, it's fine. He's happy to do it. Jason obviously wants to chase her. Why should I care? I then sincerely said to Jason with a smile, thank you for creating opportunities for me to be alone with him. You really put in a lot of effort. His expression turned complicated, and he gritted his teeth. No need to thank me. As I was about to get in the car, a bunch of media rushed out and surrounded us. I already knew I used to be in the entertainment circle, and apparently did quite well. But my manager said I had taken a break from the spotlight for a while, so I should rest first and return to work after recovering. Microphones were practically in my face. Nancy, what do you think about Jason saving Lisa first during the earthquake? Are Jason and Lisa dating? For how long? Do you know? I didn't get why the media was so excited. And Jason, why were his eyes fixated on me like that? The uncertainty in his gaze made me uneasy. Even if I were his sister, I couldn't expect him to save me first, right? At most, it showed he lacked loyalty. Was he worried I'd badmouth him in front of his beloved and make him look bad? Who he saves is his business. Whether they are dating should be asked of them, not me. It has nothing to do with me. After hearing my response, Jason clenched his teeth, looking like he wanted to hit me, and mouthed, good job, Nancy. If you're going to praise me, just say it. No need to look like you want to hit me. He got in the car, slammed the door, and left with Lisa. I was surrounded and couldn't move, trying to make my way to Jack's car. Is this Jack's car? Nancy's getting in with Jack. I'm here to take her out of the hospital. Jack came to my side, shielding me from the media so I wouldn't fall. Crowding around the hospital will delay other patients. I'm sure the media isn't that inconsiderate. He got people to back off with just a couple of sentences. Jack's pretty good at moral leverage. Adds to the charm. In the evening, while playing a duo game with Jack, Jason came back. I was laughing mischievously, chasing after him in the game. Whenever someone killed me, I'd complain. Then he'd chase down that player for the whole game. Jack, you're really good at this. Could you play with me more often? I want to rank up to master. Just call me anytime. I saw a shadow looming, looked up, and saw Jason standing in front of me, his expression ice cold. This guy never has a pleasant expression, does he? Annoying. Stop playing. I haven't eaten. It's almost 7:30. You haven't eaten. I saw some instant noodles in the cabinet. Go make some. I don't eat instant noodles. Then get takeout. He grabbed my phone and clutched my shoulder tightly, pressing me into the sofa. You used to not let me eat instant noodles, saying they're not nutritious. You wouldn't let me have takeout either, saying it's unhealthy. You'd go out of your way to make my favorite dishes. Wow, being his sister is like being a mom. I saw my character dying in the game and quickly pushed Jason away, picking up my phone. Go ahead and starve, then. After the game ended, Jack had something to do and left. I saw Jason clutching his stomach, leaning on the sofa, and looking at me with venomous yet pitiful eyes. He resembled a mistreated guard dog, his aura much diminished. Come on, he's a grown man, getting all upset over not being fed. That demeanor really didn't suit him, but it's not my problem. He won't starve to death. If he gets hungry enough, he'll realize instant noodles might not be nutritious, but can definitely fill you up. I stood up to go take a bath and sleep. Nancy, my stomach hurts, he said, sounding pitiful. Then order some takeout, and buy some stomach medicine. I'm tired. I have a lunch date with Jack tomorrow. Halfway up the stairs, I turned to look at him. His eyes lit up. Thanks for telling me he likes games. Could you also tell me what he likes to eat? He trembled slightly on the sofa, lowered his eyes, and in a hoarse voice said, I don't know. Fine, I'll ask him myself. Getting to know each other better might improve our relationship. He seemed to be in severe pain, hunching over, the knuckles gripping the sofa turning white. For our meal, we chose a private restaurant with good privacy. We ran into Jason and Lisa there. Lisa insisted we all sit together to make it lively, and Jason didn't object. As soon as we went into a private room, she showed concern. Nancy, will your head injury leave a scar? They say places with stitches don't grow hair. I immediately showed concern for her as well. I have plenty of hair, a little spot without his fine. Sis, you should be careful. I noticed your middle parting is almost an inch wide. Worry less, stress less, lose less hair. Jack reassured me, it won't leave a scar. There are many ways to remove scars these days. Jason, on the other hand, sat down silently. The waiter handed us an iPad to order. I asked Jack, what do you like to eat? I like fish, but no innards, prefer spicy. Other than that, I'm fine with anything. Let's order their specialty fish then. You decide. I'll pay. No way. I said I'd treat you. Alright, next time it's on me. I ordered a few more of my favorite dishes, and handed the iPad to Lisa. She picked her choices while chatting. Nancy, you and Jack are getting along really well now, right, Jason? Jason stayed silent. I said, yeah, it's like love at first sight. Maybe it's that imprinting thing, where you become attached to the first person you see. Jack didn't seem too happy and said, are you treating me like your mom? No way, you're a guy. Better be. Jason pulled his chair back with a sharp sound and said, I'm going out for a smoke. Jack said he would join him. I sat there for a while, but I felt I had nothing much to talk about with Lisa, so I got up to hide in the restroom for a bit. Rounding the corner, I saw Jack leaning against the hallway wall, smoking. This was the first time I'd seen him smoke, and it was oddly sexy. He spoke up, Jason, you and Nancy are broken up now, right? Jason didn't answer, but his cigarette had burned down to almost his fingers before he spoke. What do you mean by that? Give me a straight answer. If you're broken up, I'm pursuing her. Jason stubbed out his cigarette with his left hand and tossed it into a nearby trash can. He let out a cold laugh, his expression indifferent, his tone mocking. If you don't mind picking up my leftovers, go ahead. Jack immediately punched him in the stomach. How can you insult a girl who's been devoted to you for 7 years like that? You're despicable. It took Jason a moment to recover from the pain before he stood up and swung back. Who the hell do you think you are, hitting me? Jack calmly caught his hand. Don't make a scene. We still have to eat, and if the media catches wind of this, it'll get ugly. Since you admitted you broke up with her, I'll make sure she moves out and stays away from you. With that, he let go of Jason's hand, took a final drag from his cigarette, and went back to the room. Hearing two bombshells back to back, I felt dazed as I headed to the restroom. Jason isn't my brother, he's my ex. And Jack wants to pursue me. High-level hunters often appear as prey. He's definitely a bait boy. Jason called himself my brother, probably because he didn't want me to cling to him and screw up his chances with Lisa. No wonder I felt uncomfortable every time I saw him. No wonder the media was so eager to ask me about their relationship the other day. Turns out, I had been living a lie. Jason's contact was pinned at the top. I must have valued every bit of news about him. Everything in the villa came in pairs, looking like couple stuff, because they were. Now, all these questions were answered. I washed my face to calm myself before going back to the room. They were all in their original positions, but Jason wasn't touching his food much. As we finished eating, Jason stood up holding his stomach and fell to the ground. He must have had severe stomach pain. Lisa frantically tried to help him, calling his name. I said, call an ambulance. Lisa did as I told her. I pulled Jack away, but Jason grabbed my left hand. Seeing him on one knee, clutching my hand, his face pale, trembling in pain, I felt nothing. You're not coming to the hospital with me, bro? No, you have Lisa with you. I can't help much even if I go. Jack and I are going to a movie. It's starting soon. Don't want to be late. As he spaced out, I pushed his hand away. He murmured, you used to get more worried than anyone when I was sick. Now, you won't even look at me. Well, he said it himself, that was the past. Now, I've forgotten all about it. No matter how much pain he's in, it doesn't affect me. I'm an outsider. After the movie, we were strolling, and Jack was just about to hold my hand when his phone rang. I saw it was Jason calling, and he wouldn't stop. I answered. He sounded weak. I have a stomach hemorrhage. Annoyed, I asked, what else? He was interrupted. Don't you want to check on me? No need. I'm not a doctor or medicine. I'll hang up if there's nothing else. He got so pissed, he yelled, Nancy, never contact me again. I heard things falling over on his end. Lisa urgently shouted, Jason, you're on and 4. You can't just kick the drip stand. Blood is everywhere, nurse. I hung up. A brief headache hit me, and blurry images flashed by. It felt like I was sick and on and 4. And I kept calling someone. They answered, but only said, I'm busy. Don't disturb me unless it's important. I timidly asked, I'm sick, my head is spinning. Can you come see me? They showed no concern. If you're sick, see a doctor. Don't bother me. I'm busy with my racing game. Holding my phone, tears fell. Thinking about that made my face feel wet. Why are you crying? Jack looked at me worried. trying to wipe my tears away. Headache. I'll take you to the hospital. No need, I'll be fine in a bit. He offered to massage my head to relieve the pain. When I felt better, he drove me back to the villa. He said, even though it seems like I'm taking advantage of you, with you having no memory and all, and you're instinctively relying on me from the first glance, I want us to get closer. I've tried chasing you before, a long time ago, but I want to try again. Is that okay? I told him he had chased me before and I actually rejected him. What poor judgment I had. Jack said he met me during our freshman year. Back then, I used to feed the stray cats at school. Later, I encountered someone abusing a cat. I rescued a calico cat, but my hand got hurt in the process. When they found me, I was comforting the injured cat, even though I was injured myself. He saw me when I got into the police car, my uniform covered in mud, my sleeve torn, and with some scratches from the abuser's nails on my face. I really didn't look very pretty. I said he worships heroism. He said it wasn't that. He wanted to protect me, felt for me, and was moved by my battle-worn look. After that, he started watching me unconsciously and noticed that I was usually very quiet and gentle. He couldn't imagine how someone like me would fight a knife-wielding abuser. He later tried to court me, but I was indifferent. At a gathering with friends, when everyone was teasing us, I went to him and clearly told him not to waste his time on this. I said we had no chance and that I liked someone else. He asked me if he would have had a chance if I met him first. I just said that I don't answer hypothetical questions. There's no if in the world. Now, this opportunity is a chance from heaven for him to start over. I hesitated. I was happy now. I liked him too. But was this just a clinginess due to my amnesia? And what if my memories returned? Would they be a ticking time bomb, potentially hurting him again? I voiced my concerns. He told me that even if he could just have some romantic memories with me, he'd be happy. He dreamt of dating me. Even if we had to break up after my memory returned, he wouldn't blame me. When he finished, he was so nervous that he didn't dare to look at me, clenching his fists. Seeing him so cautious, I felt for him and agreed. When Jack heard my agreement, he looked up, his eyes smiling like crescent moons, and joyfully hugged me. The next day, I checked out my assets. As a top actress, I owned property, including a place near Jason's villa. It seemed like I revolved around him a lot before. I immediately threw out everything from the villa that belonged to me, including couples items, packed all my clothes, called a moving company, and moved back to my own villa. While packing, Jack called and said he needed to return to Los Angeles because his grandma was sick. Since I had no other plans in New York, I offered to go with him. Jack's grandma was already in the hospital, diagnosed with stage 2 lung cancer. I grew up with my grandma too, although I've been too busy to visit her in recent years. He looked very guilty. It's not because you didn't call for yearly checkups. Even timely discovery and treatment can't always help. Grandma wouldn't want to see you like this. He pulled himself together and took me back to his home first. His calico cat leaped into my arms, licking my hand with its little tongue. I found it affectionate and cute. Jack told me this was the same calico cat I rescued back then, and it might remember that I saved it. He had adopted the cat and cared for it for 8 years. I stayed with Jack in Los Angeles for 2 months. However, his grandma was old, 70 years old, with a frail body, and the cancer had spread to the late stage. The doctor said she probably had less than 2 months, and treatment would only add to her suffering. Jack thought for a long time and decided to take her home and care for her personally. Her last wish was to see Jack get married. I suggested that we have a fake wedding to make her happy. He said he didn't want to force me into this. If we held a wedding, the media would definitely make a big deal out of it, and it might affect my future choices. I teased, "Oh, so you don't want to marry me?" Relationships without marriage intentions are just fool's games. He hurriedly denied it, repeatedly assuring me that he was genuine, and he'd be thrilled if I wanted to marry him, even swearing by it. Isn't that great? I don't mind. A fake wedding to fulfill her last wish isn't a big deal. He couldn't hide his sadness, saying I might regret it if I regained my memory. These past days, he had been depressed because of his grandma's illness. I hugged him, looking up at his expression. "Don't be so insecure. You're so handsome. Why would I regret it? You don't know how much," he paused, even sadder, "you loved Jason before the amnesia." Over these 2 months, our feelings deepened. Seeing him like this made me feel bad, so I cupped his face, stood on tiptoe, and kissed his cheek. "I promise, even if I get my memory back, I'll only love you, okay? Don't be sad." He finally cheered up a bit, hugging and kissing me. "Even if you're lying, I'm happy. I'll get everything needed for the wedding." During this time, the media had been reporting on me and Jack frequently visiting the hospital. When rumors about our wedding surfaced, Things got out of hand, with rumors saying we were going to the obstetrician, and were getting married, because of a baby. We decided on a simple wedding at the church, inviting very few people, just to fulfill his grandma's wish. Grandma was too weak to even get out of bed, so we planned to video call her during the wedding. The wedding reception hadn't started yet, when Jason barged in with a group of people. His usually immaculate clothes were disheveled. The dark circles under his eyes were heavy, and he looked much thinner than he had 2 months ago. His whole face had an unnatural pallor. He looked at me in my wedding dress, and his eyes slowly reddened. The expression on his face showed a kind of despair and disbelief I had never seen before. With a trembling voice, he asked, "Nancy, what are you doing?" I replied, "Brother, are you here to attend my wedding?" A wave of sadness washed over him, and he painfully closed his eyes. "Don't call me brother. I'm not your brother. Nancy, you're mine. You can't marry someone else. This is ridiculous," I scoffed, my tone as arrogant as his used to be. "You were the one who said you were my brother. Now, who are you pretending for with this pitiful look?" Back then, I thought you were faking your memory loss when you said that. You just wanted to get rid of me and be with Lisa, didn't you? His face turned pale, and he was speechless for a long time. "You're amnesiac now. If you recover your memory, we can be together again. This time, we can do it right. Even if you want to get married, I'll agree to it. You have some nerve, saying you want to marry my wife at my wedding. You think I'm dead?" Jack couldn't hold back any longer. He wrapped his arm around my waist, jealousy written all over his face, like a little wolf ready to bite. Jason's eyes turned blood red, and he shouted, "Shut up. What kind of brother steals another brother's wife? Don't make it sound so bad. I only pursued her after confirming you two had broken up. If you didn't cherish her, don't come biting back like a mad dog when you've lost her." Out of consideration for me, he didn't mention the time Jason called me a used shoe. Back then, I thought I could brush it off, but I realized I couldn't. I can't live without Nancy. For the past 2 months, I felt like a walking corpse. "Nancy, come with me. I'll take you to the places we used to go, and you'll recover your memory. Everything will be fine once you remember how much you love me." Desperately, he wanted to help me regain my memory, to find the Nancy who loved him to the core, the one who wouldn't leave him no matter how he treated her. Sadly, she really died in that earthquake, died in his countless choices for Lisa, died from his continuous stabs, leaving me alone to lick my wounds, never seeing how heartbroken I was. Calmly, I pushed his hand away and said, "I did regain my memory, but I don't want to go with you." For the past 2 months, fragments of the past had been flashing in my mind, until just now, when he burst in, I finally remembered everything. I had a crush on Jason since high school. My parents divorced and remarried, and they rarely came to see me, although they sent me alimony. I grew up with my grandmother. Our house was close to Jason's. On one birthday, I bought a cake, but I was bumped into by some guys on the way. They not only ruined my cake, but, being drunk, tried to harass me. Jason, who was passing by, helped me out. He said he'd call the police if they didn't leave. Before he left, he handed me his own cake. "I hate sweets. It's yours." The boy's delicate face, rebellious nature, and blue and white school uniform under the midnight lights. Everything about him made my heart race. Later, I didn't see him again until high school graduation, no matter how many times I walked that path after learning Taekwondo, until I graduated from university and entered the entertainment industry, working as an extra. The next time I met him was at a party my agent took me to. He had clearly forgotten about me and was drowning his sorrows. I heard from others that he had just broken up with his first love. His first love had left him to go on a nationwide tour. At the party, an older man held my hand, subtly implying that he could give me opportunities in exchange for favors. I resisted, and he tried to force me to drink. Jason stepped in, pulling me to his side, and joked, "Bert, I don't think you'd compete with me for a girl, would you?" The man immediately bootlicked, saying he wouldn't dare. That night, Jason got very drunk, and I ended up taking him home. He threw up all over me. The next morning, when he woke up and saw the two of us, he mistakenly thought something had happened between us. His eyes held disdain, as if he thought I was someone who'd do anything to climb the social ladder. He handed me a check and asked if it was enough. I told him nothing had happened and stormed out of his villa, furious. Eventually, we met again. He apologized for what happened, and I forgave him. As time went on, we met more often at events, and he understood my feelings for him. He proposed that I be his girlfriend, to help him with some troubles and accompany him to events. But I had to be obedient and sensible, never asking for more. I diligently played the role of his girlfriend for 7 years, waiting for him to settle down. Even though he never showed complete love for me during that time, I wholeheartedly accepted it, until Lisa appeared. She made me realize that love doesn't come from just enduring and waiting for 7 years. Looking back, it was a painful experience. So, I figured it out. He didn't love me. I decided not to love him either. Fortunately, my feelings for him had come to an end. There would be no more pain. Jason loosened the buttons on his collar and took a long, deep breath. He scanned the chapel with a menacing look. If you won't come, then smash this wedding. Destroy everything. The people he brought started tearing down the decorated chapel, smashing the statues. The priest hid under the table, trembling and calling out to God. I stepped forward and slapped him across the face. Have you lost your mind? Making such a scene, you'll make us miss the video call with Grandma. Good thing she didn't come in person, or she'd be heartbroken. Jason turned his head. When he looked at me, there was a handprint on his cheek and tears in his eyes. You hit me. You hit me for him. Do you really love him that much? You've just been together for a short time, but we've been together for 7 years, Nancy. You want to get back at me? Fine, but can you not do it this way? He squatted down, clutching his stomach, in pain. It hurts so much, even worse than my heartache. Did you put a spell on me? Why else would it hurt this bad? I looked down at him with a cold face. So what if you ruined this chapel? I can arrange another one. I'm not petty enough to waste my life on revenge against you. You loved Lisa, didn't you? And you two dated for just a year. So time isn't the issue. I had nothing with Lisa. I thought I hadn't gotten over her. But all this time, she was around me every day, and I felt nothing. I was just bitter about being dumped back then. I've already replaced her in the dream crew. You'll never see her again. These 7 years, I realized I loved you all along. Don't marry him. I'll do anything you want. Love me. Then why did you instinctively save her in that earthquake? Because I left you now, and you're unwilling to accept it. If I go back, won't I end up just like her, abandoned? Think about your attitude towards me in these 7 years. If I didn't have such thick filters, we'd have broken up long ago. All those feelings have long been worn down by your attitude. Now, I beg you, leave me alone. Don't contact me again. He tried to explain, but Jack came in with security. Take all these troublemakers to the police. Jack had just called for help. He looked at Jason with fierce eyes. If Jason wasn't crouching in pain, Jack would have probably kicked him. As for Jason, if you want to stay for the wedding, fine. Keep him restrained. Seal his mouth. The wedding scene was immediately moved to another chapel. When it officially started, we connected with Grandma. Under the priest's witness, we completed the wedding ceremony. Jason was handcuffed and forced to watch the whole wedding. His fists were clenched, and his face was ashen. He fainted from the stress. After being taken to the hospital, the doctor said it was due to stomach distress and emotional overload. This incident might haunt him for life. Watching the woman who loved him for 7 years marry someone else, just when he realized his love for her. After regaining my memory, I stayed with Jack to care for Grandma for 2 months. She passed away, and we arranged her funeral together. During this time, Jason kept trying to find ways to see me, but Jack always blocked him. Dream approached me to play the lead role again, and I accepted. I really liked this character. It was meant for me. As for Lisa, I heard her husband from abroad came to fetch her. They hadn't divorced properly. She sought Jason's help, but he ignored her. She was ultimately taken back abroad by her husband. Jason pestered me for 2 years, refusing to give up. It wasn't until I announced our marriage certificate and my pregnancy on social media that he finally gave up. The next I heard of him, he was in mid-stage stomach cancer. His assistant asked if I could visit him at the hospital one last time. Seeing my dilemma, Jack said, I'll go with you. The man is seriously ill. I'm not that petty. Though his face showed reluctance. At the hospital, Jack waited outside the room. Jason lay lifeless on the bed, pale. Seeing me, he forced a smile. I didn't think you'd come. I looked at him calmly. I've moved on. Seeing you is no big deal. I just want to ask, if I had treated you well back then, would we have gotten married? Would we have had kids? It's meaningless. Things happened. Your pride would never change, even with a do-over. I don't deal in hypotheticals, just the present. This is our last meeting. Jack doesn't say it, but I don't want to make him uneasy. So no matter what happens, let's not contact each other again. He gasped like he was suffocating. Okay, I'm going to Germany for treatment. I probably won't come back. I won't bother you again. I just hadn't apologized to you in person yet. Well, goodbye then. Without looking at him again, I turned to leave. I couldn't say, it's okay. The harm he caused was real. Despite the good times once shared, for the rest of my life, we'll have no more ties. As soon as I stepped out, Jack came to me. 2 more minutes and I'd have come looking for you. No more pretending to be generous. I always need to watch you closely. We're already here. Let's visit the OBGYN, check on the baby. It's great. For the rest of my life, I have a child and Jack. At last, I have the long-awaited family I've always wanted.